And in spiritual fields, they have this idea, and the Big Bang, whether it's real or not, they had that idea that something originates from a point. And that point is indivisible. It has everything contained within it. It's like a nucleus of an egg, right? And life originates from that. Then you have the idea of the fact that things expand and contract, and our breathing reflects that as a mirror of that. We breathe in, we breathe out. And the universe, matter is expanding, is breathing out. And at some point, it's going to start breathing back in again.
Okay.
And maybe that is the point when that starts to happen. Now, the belief systems maintain that while the universe is expanding and matter is expanding, spirit, the spiritual aspect of ourselves, is contracting. And as soon as some sort of threshold happens, spirit will expand and matter will contract. And maybe that's what 2012 has got to do with it.
And maybe they saw that all those years ago.
Yeah, something's going to happen which will change our entire perspective on who we are, what reality, maybe it's a stage in our evolution. Certainly things seem to be speeding up in terms of our the way we're looking at the universe, and the way sciences and belief systems are coming together, and everything seems to be culminating in something, and what that something is quite exciting, really.
Right.
The point is, yeah.
No, absolutely. Anyway, we'll go back to your book. And
So,
to talk us then through the book, kind of, you started doing that. And then
I do touch on that, actually,
yes,
breathing universe in the book, actually. Because at the end of the day, the book is essentially about shapes, geometric shapes.
Yeah.
And when shapes are used for sacred purposes, it's known as sacred geometry. It didn't start off in that way, but that it started to become that because it made more sense to me as I was doing the research. Once I started looking at belief systems and the sciences, I realised that that was the route that really made most sense to me. And what I do in the book is I look at the origins of the imagination a bit, and where we started to first record symbols, to make symbols to represent our reality, to use circles and squares to represent that reality. And then I look at each of a few very basic shapes and geometric principles. So square, circle and triangle are very obviously shapes. Duality is more of a principle, it's an idea of something, which the Tai Chi is a very good example of representing it, the black and white symbol.
Yeah.
It's a very good way of representing duality. The spiral, which is again a form of principle, because basically it's about pattern sharing. It's not a shape like a square, circle and triangle are. And the cross and the heart. So I look at each of those few ideas and look at what they represent, what aspect of reality they represent, because the interesting thing about shapes is they're almost like the code of the universe. They're the organising factor behind it. They're in all the mathematical models, but we also use them as symbols, and we also use them in our daily lives.
But how do shapes organise the universe?
Right, okay. Right, well, it starts off with the point.
The point is the centre.
The point is the centre.
And we each have our own centre?
We each have our own centre.
So you have a point and I have a point?
We believe we do. We believe our points are different, but...
so you believe you have a point?
We all have a point.
I believe I have a point.
Okay.
And our points are different or the same?
They're probably the same.
Okay.
But from the point of view of living our reality, we perceive them to be different.
Okay.
From that singular point, the point where everything was contained, it divided into two. The point looked at itself, and this is where you get the idea of the universe looking at itself, or God, or whatever.
So the point is also the origin of the universe.
That's right, yes. So you then have the idea of two.
Yeah.
So two things. They appear to be separate. The universe is looking at itself,
yes,
so it's like a reflection.
That, yeah.
What there is between that and the thing that's reflecting it on itself is an interesting idea in its own right. But that's where you get duality, the opposites, left, right, male, female comes into play with that.
Yeah.
That principle then underpins everything else that comes after that. From the two, the ancients always maintained that 1 and 2 were the parents of all numbers, because through them you have the third, the two, the opposites, the male and the female. Their progeny is the third entity, and that third thing has a bit of each of those parents in them, the male and the female. And through those numbers and the creation, you have shapes. Now, I think I might have to use
Got
my
some
props here.
That's great. Go for it. Yeah.
It's a very visual subject, and it's very
Okay.
difficult to explain by just waving your hand. So
Okay.
we'll start with the square. Got a small one here as well. The square is essentially to do with space. So you, as an individual, you believe you're living in a particular area of
So
space.
space is obviously within duality.
That's right.
There's
Space
the point,
is
there's no space.
Okay, so
Yeah.
duality then becomes 2 becomes 4, 4
Okay.
becomes 8, 8 becomes 16.
Okay.
So space unfolds like this. You have, good yours, it's very difficult to fold this. Unfolds basically 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
like this. So space unfolds, and you have your grid. Now, if you imagine that this is infinitely small as well as infinitely big, you can see that
Okay.
the grid of space is everywhere. It's essentially dense.
Yeah. Okay.
So out of that outer space, we have we can take a direction. We can go left, we can go right, we can go over here, we can go over there.
Yes.
That enables us, in our reality, to make choices about where we go. And you reside in your particular point of space. You believe you reside there, and I believe I reside here.
Yes.
That's what the square enables us to do. The triangle, I'll go to the circle actually. The circle is to do with time, essentially, and that everything is connected in time. And this is to do with quantum theory as well, that all events are there residing in the same moment, and through your choices and decision, you create a reality. So the circle is an infinite number of circles radiating from the same centre. This is like a holon that the Hindus call a holon. So throughout, from the singular point, the holon of time permeates out. So you have your square, comes out,
Yes.
and you have the circle, infinite radiates out. And then you have the triangle as well, which comes out from the 3. So this is the triangle. So these 3 things, the square, the circle, and the triangle, are the 3 basic grids on which reality hangs itself.
Right.
Like, it's quite tricky to... But at the middle of them all, I'll have the call come to this. This is
That's the point.
the source.
Source. Okay.
Right, so from there you have 1,
Yes.
you have duality. From
Yeah.
duality you have 2, 4, 8,
Yeah.
16, so space
Okay.
forms. From duality they create the third, so the triangle forms, pum, 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 pum. And from the middle you have these infinite radiating circles, which are time. So that's all events, all probable events that can happen in time, and everything is connected in time.
So let me ask, this might be a simplistic
No, it's
question,
okay.
but what you're saying is you can take anything that happens and you can put that in the form of a symbol. Is that right?
What I'm trying to convey is symbols are a way of making the unknowable and the
Noble.
knowable.
Yeah, I understand
They are.
that, yeah.
Because and without symbols we can't do that. We use words as symbols
Yeah.
to share experiences of
Yes.
an unknowable thing. Our emotions, for example. I can't know your emotions unless you describe them to me.
So in the same way that
Mathematics.
something happens and I describe it to you, what you're saying is it can also be portrayed with symbols.
Absolutely.
And so the point I'm getting at is,
Yeah.
so you can take something that happened to you yesterday, you can tell me about it, but you can also show me that in symbols. And if I could understand the symbols, it would be the same as you talking to me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And in previous times, numbers and geometry were a language in their own right. Numbers were just the same as our English language. They were used to describe aspects of reality that we've forgotten. 2 was about duality, and it was about explaining the fact that there are these opposites that can interchange. Love can turn into hate instantaneously. And 4 was about space. We use it, like 4 square we talk about. We have a 4 square meal. We use them in our flags to denote territory. But we don't use it as a language as they used to. It's an intuitive thing that we've lost the ability to use.